So last week, I shared about how AI shopping agents are set to become the new consumer interface, potentially shifting control of retail media from retailers to AI platforms. And of course, all of that was born off the big bombshell announcement from OpenAI about its operator agent. And playing that forward a little bit, we're starting to realize what the implications are across many different use cases, of course, but in retail media especially, it looks like in some ways a rerun of the Google or Amazon era of search advertising. And now we've had a little bit of time with OpenAI operator and people have started to use it and experiment with it for shopping activities. We're starting to see where the gaps are, and there are real gaps. I will grant you that. But this is going to continue getting better and better. But there will be some road bumps along the way in terms of adoption. So today I want to share some of those real shopping use cases that I've seen people share out after testing out Operator. Some point of views from other people in the space. So if you don't trust me, maybe you will trust some of these other commentators. But finally, what does this mean for retailers specifically? I'm going to talk about retailers today as one of the big stakeholders in the ecosystem. And then I think next week, I'll be able to talk more about what changes brands are going to see in this new ecosystem and what will happen in the short term and the long term. So let's jump in. Good morning and welcome to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, I bring you candid and real discussions in the world of retail media and marketplaces in just 10 minutes. So bring your own cup of coffee and we'll get smarter about retail media together. The first thing I want to cover off is how people are using Operator to shop right now. And let's be real, there's not that many people out there who are willing to pay $200 a month, right, to test out Operator and have it walk through some fairly specific use cases. So there's not that much out there in terms of how people are using this, but I do want to point out a couple that I saw on LinkedIn which show varying degrees of advancement. So there's an AI strategist, Lauren Morgenstein-Schiavone, and she went through a couple of different scenarios and shared videos on LinkedIn about this. The first one was she created a shopping list directly from some recipes and then asked the AI to go and build her shopping cart on Kroger. And she showed how that worked, and it seemed to work pretty well. It was using filtering and things like that. In another test, she didn't specify a retailer, but she asked the AI to find the best price for Pampers size 4 diapers. And Operator went to Amazon, spent some time there clicking around trying to figure out the best price per unit there, and then went to Target and ultimately determined Target to have the better deal and added an item to her shopping cart. So she points out a couple of minor errors with this, but also obviously this is a starting point and the technology is just going to get better at an exponential rate. So that's one use case I thought that was interesting. Another one was from agency founder and executive David Jones, who used Operator across a number of different scenarios. David had a very busy day on the weekend, evidently, or at least he got Operator to handle all of these things for him. So he got Operator to order bread from a favorite local bakery. So this is not a big retailer. This is like a niche, New York City bakery. Researching World Cup tickets, booking a hotel in Paris, and ordering juices from DoorDash. David was very impressed with the agent's effectiveness and had a really good summary on that. But a big takeaway that we'll come back to later that he highlighted was the need for human verification in the checkout process. So he said it does sometimes need to bring you in to confirm that you're human. So it says, could you please take over and complete this verification? So that'd be something like a reCAPTCHA form or those little tests to keep the robots out. I wonder how long before agents are so prevalent, no one cares. That is a key point we're going to come back to later on in the episode. So what does this mean for retailers? If people like Lauren and David, the very early adopters, or even before early adopters, we have innovators. So these are the earliest of users. If they are able to get operator to manage these sort of edge cases for them in their daily lives, ordering food, ordering convenience food, doing a weekly shop, then you can kind of see where this is going, right? That's what I spoke about last week, was this view of how we might be using shopping agents in our day-to-day lives. Let's think about how retailers are going to handle this in the short term and in the long term. So in the short term, I think that these retailers are going to reject agents, throttle them, try and keep them off of their websites because of the unknown impact it's going to have on their business, right? So there's a podcast that probably a lot of people listen to if you're listening to this one, called The Jason and Scott Show. And this is a very popular episode each year that they do, sharing their predictions for the year. So one of the predictions is that AI agents become a double-edged sword for retailers. And I couldn't agree more with this. The premise is that as agents become the primary shopping interface, or simply a shopping interface, retailers risk becoming mere fulfillment centers, losing direct customer engagement. So if the retailer, their part of the value chain is really just to fulfill an order that an AI places, then what is the role of the retailer? Are they just a commodity? And will this simply become a race to the bottom? I think this is the existential threat that the retailers are kind of thinking through now. What is our role in the value chain? And more critically, and of interest to everyone listening today, retail media networks are a crucial profit center for retailers today. And of course, we could see ad dollars that would typically go to retail media networks be redirected to AI platforms that now control the discovery process. And as such, one of the predictions from Scott Wingo on this podcast is that 10 of the largest retailers will simply block these agents, being a knee-jerk response to this existential threat. I mentioned the innovator's dilemma last week. Retailers have been in the business of interacting with and serving customers directly for decades. Are they now in the business of interacting with AI agents? This brings up all these questions. And retail media recently came in as a salve for their profit margins. Very profitable type of business. Is that about to go away as well? Now let's talk about a long-term view for retailers. I think long-term, they will optimize the experience for AI agents and find new ways to differentiate. This is the innovator's dilemma, I think. The game of retail has looked a certain way for a number of decades, and the game of retail is going to change. The players will change. The outcome that we're shooting for is going to change. And so over the medium term, some forward-thinking retailers will embrace that innovator's dilemma and consider how working with the AI agents might be their best path forward. Retailers will need to consider AI agents as a new constituent while also finding new ways to be relevant to consumers as well. I don't think it has to be a race to the bottom, and it certainly doesn't mean that even the largest retailers are necessarily in the best possible position. So here are some ways retailers might pivot and actually thrive in this new paradigm. So the first is with site design. So as Lauren Morgenstein-Schiavone pointed out in her demo, agents can struggle when a retailer site isn't optimized for AI. So retailers who build interfaces and perhaps even direct API access that are AI optimized, these retailers might have a competitive advantage because the AIs are going to prefer going to those retailers' sites or doing those API calls because this technology is expensive to run, right? And so we don't know yet who is going to bear the cost of the AI agent going out and searching across all of these different sites? Is that going to be eventually we're paying for it as consumers? Either way, it's expensive activity for an AI to be crawling through these websites, to actually navigating around, be much faster and cheaper and more efficient if an AI agent is able to do an API call. And so we might see retailers who make that available have a serious advantage in terms of cost of agents calling on those retailers. The second potential advantage that retailers could have in this new world is around loyalty programs. So think about points programs, fuel discounts, spending tier benefits could still influence consumers to go to specific retailers. So if I'm platinum tier at Kroger and I get some benefits of continuing to do my grocery purchases at Kroger, I might tell the AI to specifically go to Kroger because I want to keep racking up points and have some loyalty benefit for that. So that's one way retailers can continue to be relevant. Another is around unique assortment. If I'm after a niche type of product, I can only get it at one retailer. I'm going to shop at that retailer, if not just for that product, then for another basket as well. So exclusive products and brand collaborations could drive the AI agents to specific retailers. Number 3, there are ways that retailers could partner with these AI platforms and leverage all of that purchase and loyalty data that they have to share data and help each other be stronger and more effective and more intuitive for customers. And then finally, point number 4 is physical retail. Yay! So creating immersive experiences that AI can't replicate. Think of Whole Foods salad bars and discovery sections. Look, I got some pushback on my post saying, do you really think people are never going to shop again? Or the next fallacy I'll mention, the it won't work in my category fallacy. And I don't think all the stores are going to close down or we're only going to be talking to our AI agents. A lot of retailers is experiential, it's social, it's something to do on the weekend. Going to a farmer's market, we're not going to replace those activities, but we will start to see the repetitive, mundane aspects of shopping augmented by AI. All right, so finally, the it won't work in my category fallacy. And this is a great debate that kicked off in the comments section of a very good LinkedIn post from Kelly Gertsch on this topic. And again, I saw similar comments on my own post. So some people argue in certain categories, particularly fashion, that they are immune to AI disruption. And I love this comment from Jason Goldberg from the aforementioned Jason and Scott show, who offered a compelling counterpoint. He says, apparel was the first category disrupted by AI. Shein's AI monitors TikTok trends and moves products from concept to sale in 2 weeks, while traditional brands are still scheduling meetings. He also noted that Forever 21's owner acknowledged this reality, calling his post-Shein acquisition of Forever 21 the worst mistake of his career. So look, yes, I think people will always want to shop in brick and mortar stores in some contexts. We will keep going to farmers markets. We will keep going to supermarkets if there is a reason to do so. We'll keep going to shopping malls. And we'll also see some aspects of shopping in every category be assisted by AI agents as well. So there's lots of questions for retailers in this new era. Short-term consequences. If you block all of these AI agents, what are you really preventing here? In the medium term, the retailers who find ways to cross the chasm and partner with AIs will be able to sort of reinvent themselves and innovate so that they're not sort of stuck as a Luddite in the future. And, whether through resistance or embracing it, AI shopping agents are reshaping retail's future. So we went a little bit long today. I'm sorry for not sticking to my 10-minute promise, but there's so much to unpack here. This is about the effect of AI on retailers. I do want to talk about how brands and manufacturers and advertisers are going to be affected by this in the future. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast or the newsletter if you don't want to miss that next edition. Well, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retail Media Breakfast Club. We meet here every day at 6 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe and get your daily dose of insights, trends, and hot takes in the world of retail media and marketplaces.